Welcome to our home on this August afternoon. So I wanted to share a story about the importance of saying no. This is something that is current in our lives, and it's hard to say no. It's always easier to say yes, but it's so important to know what's right for you in your life and what's not right for you in your life. So this story takes place a long time ago. I think it's 1973, and Barry had finished his psychiatry training, and we took off a year to study from different spiritual teachers and different spiritual paths. We were just really open. And we decided to go to Chamonix in France, right? Yeah. To study with the Sufis, especially with Pir Vilayat Khan. We had gone Sufi dancing, but other than that, we didn't know that much about the Sufis. And this was going to be a whole summer up on this beautiful mountain, just living and absorbing the teachings. And when we met Pir Vilayat, he, among other amazing things that he said to us, but he looked at us and he said, I think you two should lead a workshop here. And we said, no, we'd never led a workshop ever in our lives. And we didn't even have the thought to lead a workshop. And he said, no, I think it'd be a really good idea. I would like you to lead a workshop for all the people here at the camp. And so we did. We led our first ever workshop, and it was in 4 different languages: Italian, Spanish, and French, and English, with interpreters. It was amazing. And Pir Vilayat said, I'd like to meet with you before you do each class and discuss each workshop and discuss what you're going to share, because I'd like to know, and perhaps I could add a little bit. So he lived in a cave up on the mountain. Such a beautiful man with this long gray beard and long gray hair and white robe. Just beautiful in every way. And he would meet with us, and we'd tell him we were young, 27, I think, and tell him what we thought, and he'd give us some pointers. So all summer long we did this. And then at the end of the summer, meanwhile, during this camp, the main Sufi practice was the importance of saying no. And he stressed to us over and over in many different ways that until we can learn to really say no to what is not right in our life, we will never be able to fully open up to saying yes. And we did Sufi practices, and he gave talks almost every day on this theme. Beautiful. So at the very end, we were all gathered together under this huge tent up on the mountain, and I think the camp was going to end in a few days. And he said, I would like to thank a few people. I would like to thank Barry for the beautiful workshop that he gave. And Barry stood up, and everyone clapped. You can only imagine. I was so mad at him for doing that. And afterwards, I'm like, Barry, that was so wrong. Why didn't you say what I did everything with you? Anyway, that was a big issue, and we worked through it. But and he apologized. But he said, I know you're upset with me, but the one you're the most upset with is Pir Vilayat, because he's the one that said that, and he knows that we both did it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but how do you get upset with someone who's of such high spiritual stature and who you look up to so much? I said, well, I'll just let it go. And Barry said, no, you won't. You have to talk to him, because it wasn't right what he did. I hardly slept at all that night. And the next morning, Barry said, come on, getting up. And because we knew that he was going to be heading down the mountain to take a group of people to a local church to sing there. So Barry said, we'll just hide behind this rock, and when he comes by, you're going to step out and say something. That's so funny. I was so scared. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. And we peeked around the rock, and we saw him coming. He was a magnificent figure with his hair blowing and the robe. And he was a short man, but he just walked with such grace and stature. And he got to the rock, and Barry gave me a little push. And I stepped out. And I said, Pierre Wyatt, it wasn't right what you did. You know that I also helped with those workshops. Barry and I did it together. So I was saying no to him. And he said, oh my gosh, I did it again. I'm from Indian heritage. He grew up in India. And he said, I've just been taught to give all the honor to men. And I'm trying so hard to overcome that. And he took me by the hand. He said, you come with me right away. And he's much older than we were. I could barely keep up with him. We went down the mountain, and he gathered everyone around. And he said, I have made such a big mistake. And he told the whole group, he said, I didn't acknowledge Joyce. And it's one of my faults. I fail to recognize women and what they give. And so he just did this whole thing on recognizing me. And then afterwards he took me aside and he said, from now on, I'm going to look at you, and I want you to let me know if I'm doing this correct, because I really want to change this in me. And so for the next several years, we would attend seminars, and he'd always look at me with this eye that was so bright and piercing with inner wisdom. And he wanted to know if he was doing it right. And so we developed a special relationship, and none of that would have happened if I would have just let it all go, if I wouldn't have said no. So you never know the blessing. It's not easy to say no. It's easier just to say yeah, we can, whatever. But to stand up for yourself and say no, there's a lot of power in that.
I have to tell another story that happened at that same camp with Pierre Wyatt, and it also illustrates the importance of saying no. We were at this camp, we're all in our 20s, young people, love children, right? Really trying to learn about love. And meanwhile, there's this man from the town, a really big Frenchman who was very drunk, and he came up the cable car to this alpine meadow where we were, and he came into the camp, and he was drunk and very abusive, and he was just screaming and yelling at people and just spewing all this anger. And some of us decided that we were going to just surround him with love and bless him, and that our love would open his heart. And instead, the more love we gave, it was like pouring gasoline onto a fire. And the more angry he got, and he was threatening and really carrying on. And someone had the idea, well, I'm going to run and get Pierre Wyatt, who was up in the cave. And so he ran. And we were just, we had this circle, we were singing Sufi songs and being really lovey-dovey. And that's what was not needed. Pierre Wyatt showed up, and you got to imagine, this Frenchman was over 6 feet tall, big guy. Paravolite, I think he might have been 5'4" and maybe 110 pounds, 120 pounds. He marched up to this Frenchman and grabbed him by the shirt and just whipped him around, and he just said, "No," in this big voice, "No." And he just pulled him and started marching him down the trail back to the cable car. And it was so incongruous to see this little tiny man in his flowing robes being so like a lion, right? And after he escorted him down, he came back and he came to us and he said, "When are you going to learn how to say no when it's called for? How to be like that lion and just when something's not right." And what a lesson that was for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so.
The summer of learning the importance of saying no.
Yeah.
It's very important skill. All right.
This song is, it's about making a choice, right, for your life. We can always choose to follow the path with heart. And sometimes that path with heart means saying no, really saying no with all of your heart. We can always choose to travel the path with heart. We can choose and we'll never lose, for the path leads to who we are. We can choose, we can always choose to travel the path with heart. We can choose and we'll never lose, for the path leads to who we are. It's worth the time to work through our pain and open to the love we know. It's worth the time, only love will remain, and our souls will surely grow. And our souls will surely grow. And our hearts will overflow. And our hearts will overflow. We can choose, we can always choose to travel the path with heart. And we can choose and we'll never lose, for the path leads to who we are. We can choose, we can always choose. So take a moment and just really feel that inner commitment to saying no, to really making that choice to follow that path, the full path of the heart. which is not always just being nice. Sometimes it's being really strong. Some things in your life that are not right, and you have to just say no. All right?
Ah, well, thank you for watching our little videos. We're so honored that you watch them, and when you comment, it really does help us a lot. So, yeah, may this video cause you to reflect on areas in your life where you're needing to say no, and you never know the gift that can come to you when you say no. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and next week we'll show you the puppies. We promise.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.